Hiya, welcome back to the box here at FarGo Village for episode 3 of Continuous Car Drawing Live, driven in, drawn out. And today, I actually didn't know what I was going to be drawing because it could have been one of 13 cars that Matt from Furiousdriving brought up, and it's a lovely surprise, a beaut in silver and originally from Solihull, where I'm also from. Look at this! Hello, mate!
Hello, nice to see you.
Lovely to see you, and thank you for bringing up, well, this was going to be an Alpha.
It was going to be a Ford Crown Victoria police car, then it was going to be an Alpha, then it was going to be a Mini, then it was going to be a Rover, and then it was this.
I mean, I haven't drawn one yet. Out of 1,600 drawings,
I can't believe you've never drawn one.
I've never drawn for it, so when this appeared, I was like, oh!
Exactly. Don't do that, might fall off.
So we started off with the Rover P5, as I say, 291 in the series. You can see an image of that. I remember it quite early because I was using very different pens then, and I've got a bit better.
Oh, you've really got the hang of it now?
I think so. I'm all right.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, that's good then. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with the first one. So, yeah.
Ow. You said it was pride of place behind your desk.
Actually, I can share the photo with you if you want. It's,
Right,
it's on the office wall.
Well, and there's a spot for this next one.
It's waiting for it.
You've already claimed this one, so it's got to be good.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So I have an idea of what vehicles you have.
Yeah.
So you've got the Freelander.
Got the Freelander I'm sat in now.
Occasionally has full-on roof tent edition.
Yeah, this is the full sort of family camping wagon. The dogs live in the boot. We
lifestyle.
Go on top.
Hashtag.
Yeah, it's overlanding.
For people who don't know, let's throw it back. So the names, it feels like it should be you hooning and making smoky tyres and all the kind of clickbaity type
I know it does,
videos. Why is Furiousdriving not really furious?
It's a little bit ironic, to be honest. It comes from an old Top Gear thing many years ago, like old new Top Gear from the early noughties. Clarkson one day once said that if you go to the Isle of Man, there's basically only one thing you can be done for, and that was furious driving. And I thought that sounds like the best traffic conviction possible, better than an SP30 or something, which is quite boring. And so I registered a website with that name, and then a few years later I started a YouTube channel, but it was doing nothing. I just wanted to play with YouTube and figure out what it was. So I used that name as well. And then 5 years ago, because this is actually my 5th anniversary of the channel, it turns out, I just worked out the other day, I started doing it but kept the name, and sort of worked out a logo and did stuff to make it a thing. But it's just kind of, the name stuck, and now it's become kind of a brand, and I'm kind of stuck with it for like continuous car drawing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so come lockdown, it had not grown massively. I think it was about 20,000 subscribers or so when lockdown happened, which is a long way from a career, but it's enough to keep you entertained and have a fairly strong following of people behind you. But went into lockdown with 20,000 followers, and every day during lockdown I was putting videos out because I couldn't go anywhere, so I set all the cars at home, so I did jobs on the cars and videoed it and did live chats with people like yourself, and came out of lockdown with like 40,000 followers.
Based on rough maths, that's twice as many.
That's very nearly double, yeah.
You've doubled it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously that time was tricky for many, and we all kind of particularly creativity. We diversified into trying new things like drawing. But those early drawings are kind of like up to 400 odd. Yeah, those are still kind of like, I was still trialing it and working out what
the
actually
routine
is it. Yeah. Then post lockdown, I was actually, well, let's not just kind of stop doing the drawings. Let's try it, and that's when we built the car. This this very trusty Chevy Spark was created into a mobile studio,
which is very cool. I love that.
And then so now I go to majority events where we see each other at events
all the time,
and whatnot. And then also you go frequent places like Jilks, and we come across each other and
we seem to cross paths quite a lot, don't we?
Yeah, and we have various mutual friends and whatnot as well. So
yeah, because it goes back a long time actually. Because the first time I met you was going back to early noughties, I think, when you were drawing at Brands Hatch.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that was 2009.
Was it 2009? Okay, yeah, I know it was a long time ago. Yeah.
So and then when I was doing press cars and stuff, you were a commercial photographer, and you did a lot of the shots for certain brands.
So we'd turn up at the same hotels in foreign countries.
But you're here too.
Well, I remember that one time we were both in the same event, but weirdly in different hotels, and we're both standing outside lifts going, I'm on level 3. Yeah, I'm on level 3. Are you by the painting? Yes, I'm by the painting. Where are you?
I remember I think it was Nissan, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
It was something random that you were in this you were in this hotel. We were like, okay, well, I think we're in 2 different hotels. I mean, those days, those halcyon days.
Exactly, yeah. Pre-COVID, yeah.
Those pre-pandemic days.
Yeah.
So obviously, you were discussing which car to bring. You were like, there's this one. Oh no, this. Yeah. Your cars. I mean, some people will buy purchase cars, new cars, and it's all about the new purchase. Whereas you are very much about keeping something on the road and keeping something quite. They are all quite quirky. They're all
different.
Quite different. Yeah. They don't all. They tick different boxes.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your purchases, particularly with this Freelander, which I'm drawing right now, how did this come about?
This one was a bit of an accident. I had half an inkling I would quite like a Mark 1 Freelander for a while, because I think it's like a definite future classic, because it is kind of the beginning of the small 4x4 SUV kind of craze, but it is still an actual proper 4x4 because it is a Land Rover. So you can go off-roading and you can go and do lifestyle things in it for real, rather than just pretend front-wheel drive Nissan Qashqai things. But it turned up when I'd restored a Rover 200 convertible. I was offered it for £150 by a reader because it had been sat under a tarpaulin with the roof down for nearly 10 years. So I spent the best part of a year converting this dead, totally scrap car that everyone said, you're never going to get that to run again, from absolute scrap material to virtually pristine show winner. Repainted it, put a new roof in it, rebuilt the engine, did a ton of stuff to it. And it's worth about, I think I spent £4,000 fixing it, and it was worth £3,999 by the time it was done. So I was struggling to sell it because it's a lot of money for a little old Rover. But then a friend of mine just one day said, I would love that Rover, but I've really got to get rid of my Freelander before I can buy it off you. I've got no room. And I thought, well, do you know what? I would quite like a Freelander, so maybe we can do like a bit of a part exchange deal on it. And so he lives up in the very, very, very far northeast, and I live down in the very, very far southeast. So we met up in Lincolnshire, both drove up and down, met in the middle at the motorway services, swapped cars and some money. Just a really weird deal going on, cloak and dagger.
If you were in that motorway service going, one arrived in a different car and they've driven off.
Yeah, there's an exchange of envelopes, and it's all misty and murky as well that day. So yeah, I drove up in Quent in the convertible. It's a Rover R8 if you're being a proper nerd. It was a Rover R8 convertible, and it wouldn't work, so I called it the Hateful R8. So it became known as Quentin, like Tarantino. So Quentin the Rover went, Hippo the Freelander came along. I was going to keep it just a short time and flip it on, but then I decided it was quite nice and quite useful because the dogs can go in it and it doesn't matter if it gets dirty, and it's great for the snow, and it's just good for everything really. And it's also everything I didn't want in a Freelander. I really wanted a 1.8 petrol 3-door with the really early bizarre colours, because the early ones were just disgusting interiors with like a mixture of grey and bright green and blue and stuff. Real clashing colours, horrible. And that's what I really wanted. And the 3-door with the back lifts off.
I mean, I love that you want all the things that normally most people go. You want all those all the bits that
no one else wants.
Nobody else. Yeah. You want those bits. But I was quite impressed. The rear window electrically.
Oh, that's great. Down. Yeah. You know, I actually used that when I was doing like press and some magazine undercover work. I actually had an old 2002 Freelander when it was fairly new, and we actually used it a few times because you could park up with the car facing away from your subject, turn back over the back seat with a long lens and shoot out the back window. Really good for undercover work, it turns out.
Right, look, there we are. There is
we're there.
The start of.
Oh, that's so cool. I love the kind of, you've got the kind of the cute little face of it. That sort of really sort of sets it off.
The chunky little face.
Yeah, it's chunky but
with
friendly.
The knobbly tyres.
Yeah, and the big mirrors. There's like the hippo ears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I go for. I go for the character.
Yeah.
Characterful car. Like I said, I haven't drawn one yet. I've painted one. I painted one a long time ago. Born Free Foundation had a blue one.
Ah, okay.
So I randomly also I did a project ages when I was on travelling in Latvia. They had a load of FarGo models of this first gen, and I got people to sign it and do like kind of when I met people they signed this Land Rover.
Okay,
so that particular shape I remember,
shape, yeah.
And that FarGo model had the plastic removable bit on the back.
Yeah, that's what my original one had years ago, and I kind of wanted another one like that. But then this one turned up as a 5-door, and it actually turned out to be far more useful. Because people can get in the back of it then.
So, I mean, going to the fleet that you have, so they all they all have a following. They all have people go, I like that because.
Yeah.
So when I said to you, which one has, if you post a video, this one gets the most kind of interaction. And you went, actually, across the board, pretty much all of them have a following.
Mostly, yeah. They're all, some people who like the Crown Victoria like the Volvo 740, and they also like the Rover P60. The P60s are a solid favourite. If the V8 had been running in time, that would have been a brilliant one to come along, because that one has got actually a Range Rover's V8 engine in it. So that's going to be quite a cool car, but that will not run, and it's with a classic car garage who are working on it for me right now. But yeah, I think the Crown Victoria gets a lot of interest because that gets kind of global interest, which other cars don't, because the Americans love it, the Swedes love it. It's like an icon, really. Everyone who's ever watched the movie.
The Crown Vic, that is kind of that's kind of New York taxi.
Yeah.
That is why do you have a? It's kind of it's green. It is
green. It's probably the only green one in the UK, as far as I know, because there aren't that many of them in the country, and they're very uncommon in green in America as well.
I love that one's also uncool. Like, you purposely kind of like...
Yeah, I didn't want the black and white. When I was looking for one, I specifically didn't want a black and white cop car with lights on the roof. I wanted the undercover, the feds kind of thing. I've actually tracked down through a friend where this car was based, which police station it was based at, who was assigned it for, I think, 15 years. He drove the same car for 15 years, Sergeant Anderson, working at Beechwood.
Well, did you actually get hold of him and go...
I've sent him an email, but he hasn't replied. But a friend of mine lives in Ohio, and he was driving from his house to Cleveland, drove through Beechwood, took a little diversion, went to the police station and said, my friend in England has just bought a green Crown Victoria. I can't imagine you've got many of them. I don't suppose you know whose car that was. And they went, oh, that's Sergeant Anderson over there. He came and gave him his business card and said hello. But I did email the motor pool that looked after it, and so I've got 8 pages of paperwork showing everything. It lost a hubcap in 2006, and they got a receipt for that. It's just like every single thing. Because it arrived, whenever you import a car, 9 times out of 10, all the paperwork goes missing, so it turns up and you've got no clue what's ever happened to it. And this is what happened to this car. All I knew was from the dealer who told me he bought it at like a city auction. It was an ex-police car, it was a detective's car, and I had their word for it that it was in good condition and hadn't been used as a patrol car, sitting idling at the side of the road for thousands of hours, getting beaten up in car chases, that kind of thing. And then I just did a bit more detective work, figured out where the town was, worked out where the motor pool was for that town, got hold of their email, spoke to them on the phone, then got the email for the guy who runs that place, emailed him, and then sent him some photos of the car arriving in Southampton and said, any chance you've got some service history for this? And he sent me the lot, which is incredible.
Well, initially was a kind of like, kind of what? What do you, why?
They ignored the first email. They were kind of a bit circumspect on the second email, and but when I actually got the car arriving in the UK and I showed photos of that, okay, yeah, this guy's serious. He's not just being an idiot. Okay, he's being an idiot. He's buying that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he is an idiot.
Yeah, but he's a nice idiot.
Yeah. Oh, he's a British idiot.
Yeah, exactly. He's eccentric. But no, it's just like the ultimate American icon. If ever you watched any TV show or any film at all, the Crown Victoria is just like shorthand for America because it's the background of everything.
It's equivalent of like UK Mondeo or Focus.
But bigger, yes, but much, much bigger. But things in America, unlike over here where they just buy a police car, it's just like a car off the lot and then they just strip it out and fit their equipment. Ford and Chevrolet actually built specific police cars. They sold them as taxis and they sold them as civilian versions and also as Lincoln Town cars, the limousines, all on the same platform. But the police version was uprated in all kinds of different ways. It's got bigger radiators, more oil coolers, it's got a tougher chassis, it's got a tougher suspension. You know, the old Blues Brothers thing is a cop motor with cop tyres and cop shocks and all that kind of thing. It literally is that. But if you get an unmarked one, it's generally had a softer life. It's not been involved in pit manoeuvres, shunting cars.
It's more of it's probably being used by an officer who's, probably higher ranked.
Well, yeah, it doesn't get involved in that kind of hoi polloi activity. And also they have take-home cars as well, so they want to look after it. So, they take the family out in it at the weekend, so they want it to be nice.
And I presume it's a left.
They only make left-hand drive.
Yep.
They're all left-hand drive. They're all 4.6 V8. They're all basically exactly the same spec, but then when the police stations get them, they then fit in things like the prisoner cell in the back and the bars and the windows and all the lights and sirens and.
And unfortunately, that was the initial first possible car to draw, but
yes,
at the moment the handbrake doesn't work.
Yeah, which is a ridiculous thing. I think the problem is it's never been used. So when it first arrived in the UK and went through an MOT, it just about worked. But a year later, because no one ever uses the handbrake on American cars, it's just a little foot pedal and everyone ignores it. I was getting it ready for the MOT last week and I pushed the pedal down and nothing happened, and I tried moving it and wiggling it and basically made it worse by wiggling it. So eventually I took it apart and discovered that the the shoes on the handbrake had just disintegrated, and so there's no handbrake on it. And even though I don't use it, it won't pass an MOT, so I've had to just postpone using it and order parts from America, which is frustrating.
So that was one. Then there was the
Alpha 145 Cloverleaf, which is another car I absolutely love. I'd wanted one for so long, but there's barely any in the UK, and finding a good one in the spec you want is just impossible. So when one comes up for sale, you just buy it. And this one I bought just before lockdown, and it turned out it was horrifically rusty, so I spent most of lockdown welding it. So yeah, that was fun. But it's not taxed at the moment, so I was going to tax it for today. Then I went over to check it out, and I remembered that the headlights don't work, and it was really thick mist this morning. It's going to be dark when I drive home, and I'm going to need headlights, and that's why I've not driven it for the last couple of months.
This Freelander was there was a Rover.
There was a. You said
that was the one you swapsied for.
Yeah, you said you'd done a Rover 200 already, but I didn't know which version of Rover because I've got 2 or 3. So I've got the coupe. Coupe's not MOT'd because it was leaking oil, and now I'm going to stick a massive turbo on it because why wouldn't you? The 200 Bubble, the 200 VI, which is a mega rare hot hatch from the 90s that no one knows exists. There are about 15 left on the road.
Is that because it looks like a normal Rover 200?
Basically, yes. It in no way looks like a special hot hatch at all. It's not even lowered. But
I mean, that's because what they had to do with the Rover 200s is that they had to put a massive orange grille on it to make, and then put BRM on the back.
Exactly.
And then you're like, oh, it's a Rover 200 BRM.
Yeah, exactly. This is basically a BRM without all the fancy sort of show-off bits.
So without all the bits that make it a sports car.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just a very, very fast, small Rover 200, but it's amazingly comfortable and really good for long journeys and that kind of stuff.
It was a nice surprise.
It was a nice surprise. Also, the Rover 400, I was going to bring that because that's an estate. A 420 GSI estate is again a super duper rare car. But both those cars were kind of bought on a whim by mistake. The coupe I've had for a long time because that was going to get scrapped because it was dead and in someone's yard and they were going to get rid of it. So I took it and fixed it. The 200, a viewer emailed me and said I've had this for a little while since the head gasket went because Rover, and so I bought that and then did that on the channel, getting that all sorted out. That was good. That ran nicely. The 400, I knew it existed. I'd seen it a while ago in a massive yard full of Rovers that were waiting to be.
And this is the estate, the estate.
The estate, yeah, the Tourer, 420 GSI Tourer. I had this at the NEC Classic show back in November. Had it on the stand for that show. It's red, all the paint's fallen off, looks dreadful, drives brilliant. But I knew where it was there, and I kind of forgotten about it. I went up to this place where there's 1,000 Rovers pretty much, in an old abandoned greenhouse. And the guy said, well, you're interested in that car, I know you're a good home for it. I don't like selling cars to people who are not a good home. It's got a week's MOT left on it. If you want to take it home today, we can do a deal. And so, okay.
And you were like, deal done. You can now have stands at shows.
We do.
There's a couple of you who kind of, there's Steph with our Driver Classic,
Ian
and Ian with Hubner. So there's a couple of you who really, I find it's really interesting, this kind of that you don't necessarily have to have super cool, it's not about having the cool cars.
No.
It's cool cars that people can access, have a link to, like a personal kind of thing too.
Yeah, it's reminiscence and nostalgia that really sells. The most popular car I've ever had on the channel is a Mark II Mondeo.
which is
why? I'm still mystified. It was a car that someone offered to me. But yet another car. It was a clearance car from a garden, and it was a whole load of vehicles. The guy said, it's going to go for scrap. If you want it for scrap value, you can have it, rather than me sort of taking it to the scrap man. So I did. And to put a video up saying I'm going to try and resurrect this car in a week. And I got 200,000 views.
Mad. On
this about 400-pound scruffy Mondeo covered in dirt. And I did get it going. In the end, it was so popular. One of my viewers, who's actually an old friend, he messaged me and said, look, my son adores that car. We want a retro family car. Can we do a deal to swap it for something else? And
another swap. So is this another service station?
Oh no, I went to his house because he made a cup of tea and everything. It was amazing. So yeah,
but what was that swapsid for then?
That was for a 2005 new shape Volkswagen Beetle, which is why I'm here in the Freelander, partly because not far from here I found a place selling lots of spare parts for a Beetle, And I thought, since I'm coming all this way, I might as well fill the car up with bits. But the Mondeo was almost 100%, wow, that's fantastic. My dad had one, my uncle had one, my family had one, my mum had one, all that kind of thing. Endless comments of, I remember them, I loved them, they were so comfortable, they were so good. I had one for work, yada, yada, yada. Everyone adored the Mondeo. The Beetle, it's real Marmite, utterly divisive. Some people go, I love them so much, I've had 25 of them. But so many people go, oh, that's disgusting, I can't wait for you to get rid of that and have it off the channel. So, wow, how can you...
It's quite that it provokes that kind of reaction.
Yeah, it's
like
visceral.
That,
it's a real hate. Yeah, but I don't mind it.
It's interactive, I guess.
Yeah, every comment counts.
Well, that's when I first started doing the painting work. Is that the amount of people, like, I got some real kind of like, he's not an artist. He'll never will be an artist.
Really?
Like, oh yeah, somebody wrote into a local newspaper to say, how dare I call myself an artist?
Really?
And I was like, brilliant! I've really
you rattled some chains, yeah.
Like, because this is prior to kind of internet, kind of just commenting on a website. They had to post a letter.
Wow, there's some real effort involved there. It wasn't a spur of the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to keep that bile going as far as buying a stamp.
Yeah, they really had to kind of like, oh, I'm annoyed that an artist who paints with radio control cars can be put in a gallery.
Oh my God, yeah.
How? But it was Solihull. So the Freelander, it really was. I think it deserves a lot of credit for what it started out as, and because from memory, I remember being at a Land Rover show relatively recently, and I think it was a Maestro Montego van.
Yeah, that's the mule that I built around it. Yeah,
and that was the mule that made the Freelander. And I think without the Freelander, there wouldn't be things like the Evoque and Qashqai, all this other kind of SUV, the SUV stuff that came after it.
I think that was happening. Things like the RAV4 had just jumped ahead of it, and America, obviously it was big in America already, and so it was going to come. But in Europe, certainly, this is the catalyst, this is the turning point for that style and genre of vehicle. But also, it was, once again, the car that saved Land Rover, because there have been quite a lot of cars that have saved Land Rover over the years, and they sort of run up and down to a bit of a hilly history. The Discovery kind of saved them in the 80s, and then the Freelander saved them in the 90s. So yeah, it's got hill descent control, which is like a really clever electronic system, which means it can go down really steep, slippery hills without falling over and running out of control. And I think people generally think that's kind of what BMW bought Land Rover for, because they wanted that technology to stick in the X5, which is coming out. But it's got a very clever four-wheel drive system, so it's front-wheel drive most of the time to save fuel and be sort of like a nice, good driving car, and a very clever self-switching rear-wheel drive system, which adds to that through a viscous coupling in the middle, which is like a liquid-filled tube, which when it senses different wheel speeds front and back, it solidifies like magic and then powers the back wheels and the front wheels together. So it becomes four-wheel drive like that as soon as it needs to.
So in terms of the content you're creating with this particular vehicle, how does it differ to what you're doing with the others? Obviously, it has the off-road capability. So is that kind of how you're going with it, or?
Yeah, I wasn't going to mess around with it and go too off-roady with it, because I was thinking of it as quite a nice example. Then last MOT, well, I was just seeing in the previous video of this car, we found some pretty nasty rust in it. And I had been using it in the snow, and someone commented, well, you shouldn't have used it in the snow, it wouldn't have had that rust. I think it had that for quite a long time. It wasn't just some one drive out in the snow.
one drive in the snow and it's
gone.
Rusty.
Yeah. But no, I did, well, so for example, when it snowed, I took it out and just took it to a big car park and did donuts in it to show that you can drive it in the snow, and that was good fun.
That's the furious driving.
That was some furious driving.
That's the furious driving. You'd had one video furiously driving.
Once I've done some one time. Yeah. So this is now, because I found the rust in it, I no longer think of it in my head as it's pristine, I can't change it. So now it needs new front shock absorbers, so I'm going to do a bit of a lift kit on it. I'm going to stick a snorkel on the side of it so I can go in deep water, do a few more off-roady things in it, make it a bit more of an adventure car, so we can have some more fun in it.
And in terms of shows and stuff, I mean, is this going to go to like Land Rover show?
Might do, yeah. I'm still very much at the stage of planning shows for this year at the moment. I've booked in 2 kind of 3 cars and coffee meet Furious type events. So we're going back.
Can you talk about them, where they're going to be?
Yeah. I've got the Motorist up in Yorkshire.
Up in Yorkshire.
Is it Harrogate or Leeds or something?
Harrogate,
up in
Yorkshire with a drink deal, aren't they?
Yeah, got that one. That's in April, I think. And then we've got...
There's some really good artwork on the walls there.
Is there?
Yeah,
I'll look out for that, yeah. Who is it by?
It's from Birmingham that claims to be in Coventry now.
Oh, that guy. He's not an artist. No.
No. Yeah. I mean, it's average.
He's at best. Yeah,
but
frankly. Yeah.
It fills a wall.
Yeah,
so
and from a way back, it looks alright. Yeah.
It looks great from far.
Yeah.
Looks great. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
apparently, he paints with radio control cars.
Really?
I don't believe it.
No, that can't be done.
No.
Nonsense.
He's a liar.
Yeah. Make it up. Anyway, going there.
So you got so motorist.
Yep, that's it. End of April, I think.
Is that 28th?
Yeah, it might be. Yes.
It's my birthday.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, 40 years young.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thanks. I'm at Donington.
Oh, I won't see you then.
No. and you've done a few shows as well. So
yeah,
so
the NEC.
I guess the show, kind of the classic car shows and going to the NEC and whatnot. How's that? Is it like kind of you get to meet people who you've heard from and
yeah, that's really nice actually. Yeah, because people come along and then they sort of introduce themselves and you sort of don't necessarily recognise them from their face because you've never seen them in real life. Or one or two people I recognise from their avatar. They sort of walked over and go, "Are you so and so?" And they go, "Yeah, well done." Yeah.
Car friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but a lot of the time you have to go, "Oh, I'm so and so. I've commented on such," and yeah, they've commented a lot and they've had lots of conversations. It's really nice to meet people. The only problem with having a stand at a show like that is that you don't get to see the show.
No.
So we turn up as soon as the doors open, 8 o'clock in the morning, run around as much of the show as possible until the public comes in at 9 o'clock or 9:30. Pretty much don't leave the stand for the next 8 hours, and then after the public leave, you have another sort of hour or so of closing down time to run around the show. So 3 days we run around like crazy, trying to see as much as possible.
I do see you with a little like kind of like GoPro on the end of the stick.
Oh, yeah, GoPro, yeah, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly, and you're like, right, got to get around, got to do this. Yeah, obviously, I guess was the NEC planned again for this year?
Not yet. Probably going to go as a visitor to the NEC Resto show in April, or April, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So actually go and look at the show for once. That'd be quite nice. But I've got the social the week before, and I've got a trip planned the week after, so it's quite nice not to have another weekend in a hotel. But hoping to get back for a stand at the main classic car show in November again, though, because that's a really good one for meeting people.
It's so big, that show.
Oh, it's enormous.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Is there anything any kind of classics that you go, oh, I want to do it for or just whether you want to own it? Is there anything that you kind of at the moment you go, oh, if that came up at the right price, is there anything that
I would buy for the collection? Well, with the Mondeo to the Beetle, I'm sort of doing a sort of trading up kind of a thing, where I don't really have an end game, but I would love to have either a Porsche Boxster or an Austin 7, or both.
So is that an old first gen Boxster?
Yeah, like a 2.7 early one with I saw a really nice one for sale recently, and it was silver with like a baseball mitt beige leather interior. It looked absolutely fantastic, but it was nice, so the guy wanted money for it. And obviously it's not going to work for the channel if it's nice. I need to buy a rotten one and make it nice.
Yeah, I guess kind of, I guess in the fleet there isn't a German sports car, is there?
No, there's not. No, the Alfa.
Volvo, I mean, the Volvo is very Volvo-y.
That's extremely Volvo-y and as far from a sports car as you can possibly imagine. It's possibly the slowest thing I own.
You'll be surprised, when I'm at shows, and I've got all my stickers out, I've got all the merch out, the amount of people who go, oh, have you got a classic Volvo, old school?
Oh, you should have said I'd have brought that up.
740s, 850s,
yeah.
All the Volvo stuff always sells.
It's really hot at the moment. Yeah, I don't know why, because that car I paid £175 for. And the man who sold it to me, he had it from brand new back in 1988. And he kept every single receipt going.
I'm just getting the great, what, because you polished it with some Diamond Bright.
I did, some waterless wash.
In this light, it looked kind of like nice hint of green in there almost.
Oh really? I don't know if it's that yellow light over there that's giving it that.
Yeah, just the reflections. I've done that before. I've done the whole drawing, and then somebody's gone. You know it's green, yeah, not blue. And I'm like, oh no!
Oh, hang on. Like the lead was loose in the back of the monitor.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh no! I've drawn a very green car, and
we'll start again.
I'll start again. Yeah, once you've committed to that colour, you
can't really go, can
back.
You?
So
yeah, I think that was kind of the thinking my dad had when my dad actually found the Rover 2000 for sale when I bought that back in the early 90s. I think that was kind of their thinking. The Rover 2000 was known as an incredibly safe car when it was new. The P6. In fact, Ralph Nader, the guy who condemned the Corvair with the most dangerous car in the world, unsafe at any speed. He actually called the Rover P6 the safest car in the world.
And yeah, who'd have thought about that about a Rover, eh?
Well, yeah. Well, Rovers back in the 70s were a really clever, innovative company. They had a jet car going. The P6, there was a jet version that they were road testing. If it wasn't for the horrific fuel consumption, we would be driving jet cars by now, thanks to Rover.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about even with the Freelander you got right now, that company sometimes when they got it right.
Oh yeah, they really did it right, yeah.
But it's just that there was lots of things that
weren't quite right.
Yeah, or were really bad.
Yeah, but it's the final fit and finish. Back from the 80s into the 90s into the noughties, there was never enough money to make things happen. Like the Mini probably wouldn't have been as good if BMW hadn't turned up and put millions of extra pounds into it. The Mini was like a Rover design, the new Mini, but BMW kind of made it happen to the level that it happened. And the Rover 75 was really good car. But Rover would have let it go without quite the level of finish that it had. Like, there's a story that they were about to sign it off, but then someone from BMW saw how the sunroof fitted. And they were like, no, we cannot let that out. That's going to make wind noise and the fit isn't perfect. And they had to take another 3 or 4 weeks or even longer and another couple of £1 million redesigning the sunroof and the roof panel so that it fitted flusher, didn't make wind noise and looked better. I think there were some really clever, talented people there who did a lot with what they had. I think at the Bubble Rover 200, they had to create a completely new car with like zero budget, and they had to stop using so many components because a lot of them were from the Honda tie-up back in the 80s with the R8s, the Square Rover 200s. And every time they used those parts, they had to pay Honda a license fee.
Oh, really?
So they had to get rid of things like the switchgear and bits of engine and all kinds of other stuff. But they had like zero budget, so they basically took the platform, cut it down, changed it, reskinned it, put the rear suspension out of something else into it. And yeah, it was just really clever work. But also it's interesting that they had a really young team of designers brought in for that car. And the design head said to them, out of the current Rover range, what would you like to own? And they all kind of looked sheepishly at their feet, and eventually someone said, well, none of them.
We're all right, actually.
Yeah, they're okay, but yeah, my dad would like it. So they said, okay, in that case, you guys go and design us a car that you 20-somethings would want to go and buy. And that's why the bubble-shaped Rover came out, and it was actually a really cool car in the middle of the 1990s.
Right, so I think we're pretty much there.
Yep.
Well, I've forgotten which number it is, but it'd be 1,615-ish,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, mate, for
thank
coming
you
up today.
This has been good fun. I've been wanting another car to go on the wall.
And
so.
I can add some decoration to your house.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we need to keep coming back. I've got another 12 to do now.
yeah, come back for like episode. It's Matt again.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
And now we're talking about what was on TV last night.
So Matt, moment of truth.
Oh, I'm so excited to see
you
this.
can now come out of the car.
Oh.
Ta-da!
Oh,
Look at the
brilliant.
the chunky silverness.
You've got all the chunkiness, you've got the silverness, you've got that cute little face, you've got the hippo ears. It's
now,
brilliant.
will it be okay to have it behind your desk?
It will be very much okay behind my desk.
There's a space for it.
There is, that photo, it's got a gap waiting for it.
Well, thank you so much for coming up.
Oh, no,
much appreciated.
Thank you for drawing it, I love it.
And the car that worked.
Yeah, well, something. That's why 14 cars, so eventually something will drive.
Something will work.
Yeah.
And I'll get this scanned.
Awesome.
And then I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And then I'll look forward to seeing bits on your channel.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're coming up in very shortly, in fact.
Furiousdriving.
YouTube.
But no Furiousdriving, apart from when
off-road
and in control situations.
Exactly. Yeah, we're supervised by adults.
Yeah. And don't find any more cars in Coventry on the way back. You haven't got enough space on the driveway.
Find someone else's driveway.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you. Look, great to see you. Bye bye.
Now, get out.
All right.